When Alien came out in 1979, it did something almost no film had done before. It made silence terrifying. One creature, one ship, nowhere to run. Ridley Scott built a slow-burning nightmare, and it worked. But when it came time to make a sequel, the studio handed the keys to a young director named James Cameron. And instead of repeating what worked, he asked a question that changed the entire franchise forever. What happens when you're not fighting one monster anymore, but an army of them? That single decision is why Aliens isn't just a good sequel. It's one of the only sequels in film history that's just as beloved as the original, for completely different reasons. Cameron didn't inherit an easy job. Ripley, the sole survivor of the Nostromo, spends 57 years drifting in cryosleep before she's found. When she wakes up, the world has moved on without her. Her daughter has grown old and died. Weyland-Yutani doesn't believe her account of what happened, and the planet where it all started, LV-426, is now home to a full human colony that's gone silent. Nobody believes Ripley about the danger. That disbelief is the engine of the entire first act. She's not fighting aliens yet. She's fighting people who think she's traumatized and unstable. And that's what makes her decision to go back so powerful. She's not forced into this. She chooses to face the thing that destroyed her life because she knows what's coming for that colony, and nobody else will listen. This is where Cameron makes his boldest move. He surrounds Ripley with the Colonial Marines, a squad introduced as untouchable badasses, loaded with pulse rifles, smart guns, and swagger. And then, methodically, he strips that confidence away. The drop into the colony, the eerie silence where a thriving settlement should be. The discovery of the colonists, cocooned, some still alive, hosting something none of them want to think about. And then the ambush. In minutes, the most heavily armed team in the film goes from invincible to shattered, picked off in the dark by an enemy that moves faster than they can track and dies harder than their weapons can handle. It's one of the most effective subversions in action filmmaking. You're told these people are untouchable, and then you watch, in real time, as that turns out to be a lie. What makes the Xenomorphs so effective here isn't just their design. It's their intelligence as a collective. This isn't one creature stalking a crew anymore. This is a hive, coordinated, adapting to strategy in real time, using the ventilation systems and the dark like a home turf advantage no human squad can counter. And behind all of it is the reveal that finally answers a question the first film never touched. Where do these things actually come from? The Queen, a creature the size of a small building, the true architect of every drone in that colony, laying eggs by the hundreds, protected at the center of the hive like royalty. The moment she's revealed isn't just a cool creature design. It's a complete reframing of what audiences thought they understood about the alien species. This was never a lone predator. It was always a society, built around one terrifying purpose: reproduction and survival above everything else. And that brings us to Newt, the one surviving child on the colony, hiding in the walls, half feral from weeks of avoiding the things hunting everyone she knew. Newt is the emotional core Cameron adds that the first film never had. Alien was about survival. Aliens is about survival, plus something to protect. Ripley loses her own daughter off-screen in the years she spent frozen. and Newt becomes the chance to be a mother again, to not fail this time. That relationship is why the ending hits as hard as it does. When Newt gets taken, dragged toward the hive to be added to the Queen's collection the way the colonists were, Ripley doesn't hesitate. She goes back in. Alone. Into the heart of the nest. Not because she's fearless, she's terrified the entire film, but because retreating means losing the one thing she came back to save. And that sets up the confrontation that redefined what an action climax could look like with this franchise. Ripley, strapping herself into a power loader, construction equipment, not a weapon, standing between the Queen and Newt, and delivering the line that's followed the character for 40 years.
Get away from her, you bitch!
It's not a moment about firepower. It's two mothers, one human and one alien, fighting over a child. Cameron takes the horror movie DNA of the original film and fuses it with something almost mythic. Maternal instinct as the final weapon, stronger than pulse rifles, smart guns, or military strategy ever were. What's remarkable, watching this back decades later, is how disciplined the escalation is. Cameron doesn't throw chaos at the audience from minute one. He earns every beat, the quiet dread of the empty colony, the false confidence of the Marines, the horror of realizing they're outmatched, and finally, the raw, personal stakes of the ending. It's why Aliens is still taught as one of the best sequels ever made. It didn't try to outscare the original. It changed the entire genre it was playing in, from horror to war film to rescue mission, without ever losing what made the first film work. An unstoppable enemy, and characters who feel like they might actually lose. And this is really the moment the Alien franchise stopped being about one movie's story and became a universe. Because everything that came after, the Queen mythology, the hive intelligence, the corporate greed of Weyland-Yutani, sending people to their deaths for a specimen, all of it traces back to the choices Cameron made in this film. Alien 3 deals with the fallout of what Ripley loses here. Alien. Isolation is built entirely around the terror of a single Xenomorph, echoing back to the original film's tone in contrast to this one's scale. Even the newer entries in the franchise are still, in some way, in conversation with the blueprint Cameron laid down in 1986. That the Alien universe is big enough to be a slow nightmare and an all-out war, depending on which story you want to tell. So when people ask why Aliens still holds up after almost 40 years, it's not nostalgia, it's structure. It's a film that respects its predecessor without copying it, that builds real stakes through character before it ever asks you to be scared, and that turns a corporate horror story into something almost human at its core. A woman who lost everything, given one more chance to save someone, and refusing to let go. That's why this isn't just a great sequel. It's the film that proved this universe could be anything, as long as the fear underneath it stayed real.